Have you crafted with Dollar Tree's fabric rolls yet? Because if you haven't, this is your sign to do so. They come in different designs, especially for every season. We're going to start with this gorgeous framed mirror from Dollar Tree. I did not find this at my Dollar Tree, but my beautiful and wonderful friend, Lisa from Crafting My Best Life, actually gifted me this one. So we're going to start with this one. I'm going to remove the backing from it because I'm not going to use the mirror. Now the mirror I'm going to keep because, we could use it for another craft. But I am going to use the back of it and I'm just going to add a nice thick layer of Mod Podge. I know that you know this technique by now, but if you're new here, you just want to add Mod Podge and then let it dry. I'll show you what to do here in just a second. I'm going to take this gorgeous bee-themed fabric and I'm just going to remove, of course, the sticker, and it comes really wrinkled. So I'm just going to iron it out just a little bit with my mini heat press, but of course you can use your regular iron if you'd like. I'm just going to do a section where I know I can fit the mirror. All right, so there we go. We're going to add the frame right there, and then we're just going to cut off the excess. And then once the Mod Podge is somewhat dry, this one's a little tacky still, but it works. I'm going to place the fabric right on top and then some parchment paper, and then I'm just going to iron it. The heat is going to activate the Mod Podge and it's just going to attach it beautifully. Now you can add another layer on top to seal it in, but I didn't think it was needed. Using my very sharp X-Acto knife, I'm just going to cut off the excess fabric from the sides. You can use your scissors, of course, but the X-Acto knife just makes it a little closer to the edge. Once removed, then it's time to just place it right on the frame once again. And then I'm just going to just move those little clips to tighten it. And I am going to add the little clip at the top because that way I can hang it from there. Of course, you can add any other hanging technique you want, rope, ribbon, whatever you want. All right, so if we're going to flip it to the front, and now we're going to add some embellishment. This beautiful sunflower, I believe this one is from Walmart. I'm going to remove the stem, and then I'm going to add a glue all the way around the edge right there in the back. And then we're just going to place it on the bottom left corner right there. Now you can leave it just like this, but I wanted to add extra couple little things here. So I'm just going to add these little greeneries, one on each side, and then some of the yellow ones to just add fullness to it. And that's about it for this one. Oh my word. Of course, you can add anything else to the back again to hang it, even tumbling tower blocks to be able to stand it. Love the way this one turned out, but let me know what you think down in the comments. For this next Dollar Tree DIY craft, we are going to start with one of these flat canvases. They are gorgeous. They are a 14 by 11 and they're just perfect for crafting, friends. Okay, we're going to remove the plastic, and again, we're going to add a thick layer of Mod Podge to this one because we are going to do the same technique we did earlier, but I want to show you with a different surface. All right, so I'm going to show you a little trick here. Now, while I'm crafting, I normally cut off a piece of plastic bag, roll my brush in it, and that way I can use it for my next craft. Just a little tip there for you. All right, this is the fabric we're going to use. I'm just going to remove again the sticker and we're going to iron it. This section is going to be a little larger for this one because the surface is larger, but it takes no time to iron. It works really well. While the Mod Podge is still drying, Dollar Tree carries these garden stakes pretty much for every season. And a couple of years back, I found these nautical style ones gorgeous. I'm going to take this anchor one and I'm just going to remove the actual stake. So I'm just going to dent it with my wire cutter. Now, I'm not strong enough to cut it with the wire cutters, but if I dent it and then I just kind of move it back and forth, it'll snap out so easily. It takes no effort at all. I want to add a couple extra things to the anchor though. I'm going to distress it just a little bit using this brown antiquing wax, or I thought I was, because the antiquing wax was way too translucent. So then I changed back to this brown truffle paint by Waverly Chalk Paint. This worked really well. So I'm just going to use my sponge here and I'm just going to just distress the edges all around the anchor as well in the center in some of the details. Now you may not think it's important, but I'm going to show you in a little bit how much of a difference it made. After I've distressed the anchor, I do want to lighten up or brighten up the little rope style on the top, just like you see me there. This is just going to lighten it up, brighten it, and it's just going to make it nice and pretty. All right, so now that the surface is dry, we're going to place the fabric right on top and we're going to iron it. Again, the heat will activate the Mod Podge and it will attach beautifully. Once again, we're going to flip it over and we're going to remove the excess fabric using my X-Acto knife. It just goes so much smoother with it, and it is really sharp, so be careful. But I do recommend a sharp X-Acto knife because to cut the fabric, it just makes it so much better. All right, we're going to flip it back up. Now for this one, I am going to add one layer of Mod Podge on top of the surface. This is to seal everything and make it nice and strong. I set it to the side to dry, and now it is nice and hardened. All right, I do want to add an edge with the antiquing wax. I just want to just stress those edges just a little bit, although you can skip this part if you want, or you can use white paint, which I think will look really good as well. So I'm just going to use the same sponge, and I'm just going to do all the edges. All right, so now it's time to attach something in the back so that we can hang it. I'm just going to use jute string. Of course, you can use anything else you'd like. I'm going to show you in a little bit how I use nautical rope. But for this one, we're just going to use jute string. We're going to hot glue it and tape it in place so it's nice and sturdy. Then we're going to attach the anchor to the front. Now, there are several ways you can do this. You can use E6000. You can use hot glue. I just want it to be nice and sturdier, like more secure. So I'm just going to mark where I want to drill a couple of holes, and then we're going to secure it with more jute string. Once I marked where I wanted it, I'm just going to drill the holes very carefully, of course. And then we're going to place the anchor right on top, and then we're going to thread the jute string through the little holes. That way, it's going to be tightened in the back. This is just a quick way. Now, it takes a little longer, of course, but it's just a nice quick way for it to be nice and secure. After I secured it and knotted it in the back, I am going to add a little dab of hot glue. This is basically going to just make that knot nice and secure, and it's not going to go anywhere. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes jute string does come apart, so I don't want that to happen. All right, moving along, we're going to take these little greenery. I believe these are from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to place a couple here and there. It's just going to look like little seaweeds, and I'm just going to place them on each side of the anchor towards the back so that you can have the bottom part. I feel like I needed something else, so I'm going to bring in some of these seashells. Of course, this is optional. You do not have to add these. I'm going to add a couple right there in front of the greenery, and that's about it. How gorgeous is this? Oh my word! It has such a beachy summer feel to it, and of course, you can add whatever else you want. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. For this next Dollar Tree DIY craft, we are going to start with this beautiful fabric. Again, we're going to remove the sticker. Doesn't this fabric remind you of like a, I don't know, like an orange creamsicle? Oh my gosh, now I want one. Okay, so I'm going to again iron it just a little bit in the section that I need. And I found this cork board at Dollar Tree several months back, probably even over a year now. My daughter used it for a little brief time, and then she gave it to me, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to toss it. It'll be great for a craft. I place it on top, and I'm just going to just kind of mark where I need to draw lines because I want to add a pocket towards the bottom of the board. So I'm just going to angle cut those parts. Now I did make it about 1/2 inch smaller because I do want to see some of the edge of the board. Once I have it cut to size, I'm going to place it right there where it goes. And then section by section, I'm going to add hot glue and then make sure it's nicely attached. It's looking beautiful. All right, I'm going to add some of this ribbon from Dollar Tree right at the top. This is just going to add a nice detail edge to the top, creating that pocket look. All right, so I'm going to cut off the excess, and then I'm going to add more details, although you can leave it like this if you'd like. I think it looks beautiful. I'm going to add some of these thumbtacks from Dollar Tree. They have a beautiful beige tone that I think complements the design very nicely. I'm going to add a couple to each corner and then just add them all around. You can add as many or as little as you want. It does not matter. They're not doing much. I think the glue is doing most of the holding. However, I think it just adds a nice design to it. Once I have the last one here attached, then we're going to add a couple of these stickers. Now, these are wall decals. Of course, you can do whatever decal you want. I just had these beautiful butterflies that I've used several times. I'm going to add a couple that will complement the design and the color style very nicely. And then on the other side, I do want to add flowers, but of course you can leave this to be able to add notes if you'd like. You can add photos because it is a board, a cork board, so you can add whatever you want. I love adding the flowers here, but again, do whatever you want with it. But such an easy craft. I left the little string it had, but you can change it if you'd like. Love this one. It's one of my favorites, but I'd love to know what you think. Let me know down in the comments. For this next Dollar Tree DIY craft, we're going to start with this $5 board from the Dollar Tree Plus section. Gorgeous. Talk about an easy board you can buy, customize, and then sell a sign. I love these. All right, so I'm going to remove the string because we are going to change the direction this board is in. So right now it's in a horizontal way. I want to make it vertical. Once the string is removed, I'm just going to lightly sand it with a 220 grit sandpaper. This is just to remove any roughness and make it nice and smooth. You can paint the board, you can stain it. I decided to keep it in the natural tone. I'm going to use some of these tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. You know I love these. All right, we're going to take some of the darker ones and we're going to create what will look like a boat. So I'm just going to start hot gluing them and making them into pairs first. This is just because it's a little easier. And then we're going to start hot gluing them to the bottom portion of the board in the shape of a ship, I guess. We're going to make a sailboat. So then we're just going to start attaching it to the actual board. And I'm going to start with 4 and then 3 and then 2. Now at the end, I decided to add one extra one at the bottom. And you'll see that here in just a little bit. So we are nicely coming along here. I'm just going to sand down the wood. This is just going to make it lighter, distress it a little bit, and soften them out. It's also going to remove a little bit of the glue that oozed out. Dust it really well, and now it's time for the fun part, although everything's fun. I want to add this dowel here. I'm just going to mark where I need to cut, and I'm going to use my miter shears to cut it. I found these shears in Amazon, and I do have it in my Amazon store, along with a lot of my favorite products from there. So if you want to check it out, it is always linked down in the description box. All right, we are going to hot glue the dowel right there in the center. And of course, I forgot to paint it. Don't do as I do as I say. Just paint it before. It's so much easier. I'm going to paint it white. Of course, you can use any color you want. And if you stain or paint the board, you can leave it in the natural tone. This is the fabric we are using for this one. Love it. Oh my word. I mean, it can't be more perfect, right? So again, I'm going to remove the sticker, open it up, and iron it just a bit. And then I'm going to cut off a piece that's going to be large enough for the sail. All right, now I do want one sail to be in this design, and then I want the other part of the sail to be in this burlap fabric. Now it's very curled up, so I'm just going to spritz it with water first and then iron it. It just makes it so much better. One of you gave me this tip and I love it, so thank you. All right, again, once ironed and flat, we're just going to cut off a piece for the project. All right, so now we're going to start just dry fitting things and just kind of making cuts as needed to make it look like sails. I'm going to do the same thing with the fabric, using scissors, using rulers, and my rotary cutter as needed to make sure that I get the job done. And then, of course, we just want to start attaching it to the actual boat. So I'm just going to start by dry fitting it first and then adding little glue here and there and then attaching it to the dowel. And I'm going to do the same thing with the burlap fabric on the other side. So now that the fabric is attached, I'm going to attach the other one. Okay, so I know that the fabric is kind of like laying flat and it's just kind of flimsy. And I was trying to think of an idea of how I can make them a little elevated. So I'm just going to use some of these tumbling tower blocks in the natural tone because it kind of just, I don't know, blends in with everything. I'm going to add a couple behind each sail. This is just going to elevate the sails and make it look a little bit more 3D versus them just flapping around or just laying flat. You know what I mean? I think it worked really well, and adding hot glue worked perfect. I wanted to add what will look like rope in the center. So I'm just going to add some of these jute string. It has a dual tone. I think it worked really well. I think it actually worked really well. Anyways, I hot glued it, and then I'm going to take this piece of paper from Dollar Tree, and it's a red tone, and I'm just going to add a little flag to the top, just a little detail. Of course, you don't have to do that. All right, so here's the nautical rope I was telling you. I do this technique where I do the faux knot. So I just make a very tight knot. I remove the excess rope from the top and the bottom, and then hot glue it to the front wherever I want. This is going to give it the illusion that it's hanging from the holes or the knot, but it really isn't. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then the other part of the rope, we're just going to attach it to the back, and I'm just going to add hot glue and place it right there, matching the position of the knot. You see that? It kind of looks like it's hanging from the knot, but it's not. I'm also going to add some tape. This is because the rope will flare, and I don't want to do that. All right, but that's it. We are almost done with this one. Now, I do want to add one more of those black, like I told you earlier. I felt like it was needed, and then I'm just going to distress it again so it matches the rest, and that's it. How gorgeous is this? Oh my word, this would be a great one for you to sell, a great one to do like a gift. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. I have another video here for you with tons more of Dollar Tree DIY crafts inspiration. Check it out. I'll see you later and have a blessed day. Bye.